like to talk a lot about the political doom spiral we seem to have found ourselves in, but there's another doom spiral, and it's more of a personal one. I don't have a catchy title for it yet, but it's one that the Kardashians, among many others, have found themselves in, although the Kardashians are the masters of it. I'll say that at least. Kim Kardashian not the masters, the pioneers of it. Master is the wrong word. It implies some type of intentionality. And I think actually at this point, one of the arguments I'm going to make is that it's inertia. And it's a very kind of tragic inertia. So we have some clips of Kim Kardashian on Call Her Daddy. She just did Call Her Daddy, the famous Call Her Daddy. She sat in the very seat that the one and only Kamala Harris occupied ahead of actually just around this time last year. Kim Kardashian, of course, is a much more natural fit for Call Her Daddy than Kamala Harris. But we have a few clips, and just I'm going to go ahead and roll dealer's choice on this because I think they're all really interesting. So let's start with one clip here of Kim Kardashian on this latest edition of Call Her Daddy.
Can we talk about the state of you and Kanye's co-parenting?
Yes, we can talk about it. She's sitting across from me and she's on a podcast.
What do you think co-parenting with Kanye West is like?
That's a good answer.
Well,
it's not easy. But I mean, I raise the kids, full time. They live with me, and I welcome a great, healthy relationship with my kids and their dad. But I also protect them when, it's time for that, and it goes in waves and phases, and it's a lot of work. But
when was the last time Kanye saw the kids?
Parenting is a lot of work.
Whenever he'll call for them and ask, it's probably been a couple months since we've heard from him. He lives in all these different countries, and I send them to Saudi Arabia and Italy and Japan and all over the world every time he asks. I've never once denied it.
So the Kardashians, I'm not as much of a Kardashian connoisseur as I once was, of course. But the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which, again, I'll use the word pioneer, it pioneered this new famous for being famous model, right? In a very meta sense of that era as smartphones and paparazzi. At the time, really, it was those digital cameras. But Kim Kardashian, of course, was in those paparazzi pictures it was Paris Hilton back in the day when Perez Hilton was peaking and was sort of famous for being famous. We had pictures blanketing the blogs. I mean, this was really, she was really a celebrity of the blogosphere, the celebrity blogosphere of the aughts, and turned that into a reality television show where, for the most part, the three sisters who starred in the show were grown adults. And it was about their lives as small business owners. What was the name of their original store? Oh my gosh, it was so funny. But that is what started, that's what the show started as, was the three sisters as grown-ups. And it became what sustained these gargantuan lifestyles. And that means your entire lifestyle is predicated on your ability to sustain that level of wealth and fame. You have to keep giving something to the press. And as you have your own family, you then bring children into that. Children who have absolutely no choice in the matter. Unlike you, maybe it's arguably sort of like Kendall and Kylie, who weren't a big part of the first show. And the first show was very light. If you go back to early Kardashian episodes, they're very light. They were like Brady Bunch style, 30-minute comedies, essentially. And that changed around, I'm going to sound like a real loser here, like season 4-ish, as the show started really mining serious personal drama that comes with fame and wealth. And for of course, entertainment value. And it's what they had to sell. Of course it's what they had to sell. They were on reality television. It would be foolish not to sell it. But now their entire lifestyles are all based on this house of cards, right? It will never make for a happy life. And now what we're seeing is the next generation who are building their lives on a house of cards. It seems to me like Kourtney Kardashian is somebody who's acutely aware of this and tries to at least think about giving her kids more of an option. But did Northwest ever really have an option? Probably not. And I think it would be impossible to argue that the pressures of fame are not making them mentally less healthy. Maybe that was a double negative. Let me put it this way. It would be impossible to argue they are healthier, they're living healthy and fulfilling lives because of the way they make their money. And again, all I'm saying is this is inertia, because Kim Kardashian, in the interview with Alex Cooper there, clearly doesn't want to divulge everything, clearly has some sense of shame. Whether or not that's sincere, she knows. I think this is actually what made the Kardashians compelling television to begin with, is that when the show first started, they were fairly normal. They weren't, average all-American people. They weren't really a Brady Bunch, but they were relatively normal. And I do think Kim Kardashian knows that there's something very wrong about talking about all of this, something unhealthy about talking about all of this in ways that her children will always be able to see and remember, and in ways in which the world will dissect their most intimate family dynamics for their children to always revisit. I don't think anybody thinks that's good. But I think she's convinced herself, and many celebrities, frankly, have convinced themselves that you can compensate and balance by providing your kids all of the money that they'll ever need, all of the opportunities, access to success that they'll ever need. But I don't think ultimately anybody thinks this is a good system. They may have convinced themselves that it's a good system, but we have the next generation now. And I'm not talking about Kendall and Kylie, although they've also, Kylie, of course, has ushered in the next generation too. But I mean, that era of aughts reality television, which was scandalous at first, even like The Real World was scandalous at first. We're now seeing, particularly the mold that the Kardashians set, we're now seeing the next generation cope by trying to fit into that mold. And it's inertia, and it's inevitably building their lives on a house of cards. And there's nothing you can really do about it. It's almost like being a royal. Like you are inevitably born into royalty, and that brings with it pressures. But in the case of a modern reality television celebrity, or probably more appropriately referred to now as an influencer, whose entire influence and what's the right way to say it, professional value is based on selling their personal life. What choice are you giving your children? What choice are you giving your family by the time you get to that point? You try to shield them as much as you want, but it seems like inevitably everybody ends up selling some version of their personal life who is in the sort of influencer sphere, the sort of lifestyle, personal influencer sphere, because that temptation is too strong to resist, and especially if you're a Kardashian. But it's just something to think about. I mean, I know lots of people have always thought about how Mason and Northwest were going to fare, and everybody always had sort of a pessimism about what it's like to be born into tabloid fame in, at that point, the 2010s. But we're finding that out right now. And look at Kim Kardashian, who is, I believe, in her early to mid 40s, and clearly feels like she has no choice and is doing it. She didn't seem too unhappy about it. She's doing it. It's inertia. It's the way that they live now. And it's really, really sad. And the reason it's, I think, maybe relatable to everyone on a bigger scale is that, like, if you grew up with social media on your smartphone, you're kind of trained to sell your personal life, not for money, although that option exists. There's some polls that have come out in recent years showing just like how many members of Gen Z and Gen Alpha want to grow up to be influencers. We'll see if that sticks, but you're trained to put these bits of your personal life onto these literal, like use them as products for these social media companies to mine the data and sell, but also for you to get likes and replies and all of these different these dopamine triggers, essentially. And so to some extent, we're all trained to see our personal life for gain. And what social media changes about that is it's literally gamified. Like people who designed casinos helped to design these dopamine chasing social networks. And it's not normal. And I worry that people who are the age of Northwest, for example, don't understand that's not normal because they don't remember a world before that. And it changes the way we see the world. It changes the way we see people in our lives. And the Kardashians are just a really a really magnified version. And there's no real comparison between the average person and the Kardashians, of course. But on some fundamental level, we all sort of grapple with the same conundrum. Did you know chips and fries were once cooked in beef tallow until the 1990s when corporations swapped it for cheap seed oils? Now those oils make up 20% of the average American's daily calories and are linked to inflammation and metabolic issues. Somehow, of course, like we were just talking about, all that stuff got sold by people with power as, quote, healthy. But Masa Chips is flipping the script. They use just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. No seed oils, no fillers, just bold flavor and serious crunch, strong enough to scoop guac without crumbling. Snacking on masa is a whole different vibe, and it really is. You feel satisfied, light, and energized with zero crash, bloat, or that gross, sluggish fog. Beef tallow is the secret sauce. It keeps you full and focused, not mindlessly munching, and it is so good too. My favorite flavor, I think it actually might be churro. It's so, so good. If you're ready to give masa a try, go to masachips.com/afterparty and use code afterparty for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/afterparty and code afterparty for 25% off your first order. And if you don't feel like ordering online, that is fine. Masa is now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. So stop by and pick up a bag before they're gone.